Ed sent in a question. He reckoned this might not be the scope for the chat, but what about adult tongue ties? Should they get it cut? What are there consequences to not having a severe tongue tie cut later in life, which aren't apparent in infancy?
Yeah, I think it's kind of logic tells us there is. The problem is we haven't got good quality research in it. So just because the research isn't there doesn't mean it's not true. Some research has indicated, and also anecdotally, you hear sort of people with tongue tie, it can cause speech problems because literally, if you imagine that the tip of your tongue is attached to the gum, it's la, sa, ta, all of those sounds in English. Yes. And English is obviously particularly easy for the tongue, but people might be multilingual. So it may well interfere with speech if the tongue is very restrictive. It can have oral hygiene implications. So we need to be able to run our tongue around our teeth. We use it to clean our back teeth. So sometimes that affects dentistry. The tongue affects the palate. So as the baby's during pregnancy and newborn, the tongue should be sitting in the palate, and that's what helps to widen it. If the tongue isn't sitting up in the palate, then you get a high, narrow, arched or bubble palate, which can affect, the nasal cavity and can also cause mouth breathing, which is why, as we said earlier, parents might have a baby that's sleeping with their mouth open. It doesn't mean the baby's got a tongue tie, but it could be related to the tongue tie. So right. For adults, the problem is, should we just do them anyway, is we can't predict, because you get adults that do have tongue tie that have no problems, and we get people with no tongue tie that have speech difficulties. But I think logic tells us that it could have an impact. We just don't have really good quality studies.
Which again comes back to what I was saying earlier on. If I were a parent, I'd say, well, okay, there are no feeding difficulties, but the last thing I want is for my 11-year-old, 12-year-old child to have their tongue tie sorted out at that age. And Ed was asking about what happens to older children. Do they come to see you and you cut their tongue ties?
No, so basically I will see babies up to about 9 months if they haven't got opposing teeth. After that, they would go to a pediatric dentist. And really the issue is the mobility, that they can, they want to turn, they want to get down, they might be crying, they might not want a stranger looking at them. So usually a pediatric dentist will see them from kind of a year onwards. As they get older, and depending on the child, then they would potentially be given a general anaesthetic. And that's why it wouldn't be done under general anaesthetic if it's for a problem that hasn't happened yet. Yes. So within the NHS, they would wait for the child to have significant feeding or speech problems before considering that they should have a general anaesthetic to have it done.